Good day, my YouTube subscribers. Welcome to this last Sunday of the month of December, the last Sunday in the year of 2020. A year again that so many of us are thankful for, an unprecedented year with the virus, and now we're hearing of the new variant of the virus, and with so much lockdown, with so many things going on around. Some of us losing very loved ones, or people will know, or one of the major influencers just passed on, like today, or yesterday somewhere in Nigeria. But again, this is a time we need to be thankful that we're alive and we're breathing and we're smiling and that we're happy. Today, like I shared with you, I'm actually walking through my series of books written by mothers of children with exceptional needs. And today I'm sharing with you, my YouTube subscribers, this book, To Siri with Love. To Siri with Love. This is a book written by a woman called Judith Newman about one of her twin sons, Gus. She had these two boys by cesarean section, and before she knew what was happening, she was told, again, the word that so many of us don't want to hear: hey, your child has some form of exceptionalities, or your child is on the spectrum. But that was not the end of the world for her. But again, she realized, she wrote this book when the child had gone through different things. She kept on telling us some of the traits that are very, very conversant, or normal with kids with exceptionalities or kids on the spectrum. It's either their anxiety level is high, or they have restrictive, repetitive behavior, when they want to constantly do the same thing, or they want to constantly say the same thing, But, for this book, she talks about how Siri, so many of the iPhone, or Apple users all know Siri, who Siri is, the voice, the voice on the phone. I know I have my daughter who is always like, sometimes she wants to know what the weather is like, and she goes, hey Siri, what will the weather be like tomorrow? And I'm like always amazed at how, the answer she gets. And she goes, hey, thank you, Siri. She's like talking to someone, even though she's someone who has friends, but she's able to ask Siri, what will the weather be like today? Or ask Siri certain questions. And this is exactly what, Judy talks about her child, how Siri sort of like helped her son, who is vocal, but not at the same time, who is verbal and vocal, but, does not, continue with conversations, but is able to talk to Siri and, have that constant conversation with Siri. I'll read a passage, Gus, the child's name is Gus, Gus having a conversation with Siri. He says, and this is Gus speaking, he says, Gus tells Siri, you're a really nice computer. And Siri says, it's nice to be appreciated. Gus says, you're always asking if you can help me. Is there anything you want? Siri says, thank you, but I have very few wants. Okay, well, good night. And then Siri says, it's just 5:06 p.m. Oh, sorry, I mean goodbye. And then Siri says, later. And Judith talks about, the interaction Gus has with Siri, and she says, it's not that Gus believes Siri is human. He understands she's not intellectually, but like many autistic people I know, Gus feels inanimate objects, while maybe not possessing souls, are worthy of our consideration. I realized this when he was 8. I got him an iPod for his birthday. He listened to it only at home, with one exception. It always came with us on our visits to the Apple Store. Finally, I asked, why? So it can visit its friends, Gus said. So how much worrier of his care and affection is Siri, with her soothing voice, charm, helpfulness, puckish humor, and capacity for talking about whatever Gus's current obsession is for the hour and hour after bleeding hour. For kids with for kids especially on the spectrum, autism, they become fixated on something. I mean, I've had kids. I had this student last year who was so fixated on a popular musician. All he just wanted to was listen to the artist's music over and over and over again. Years ago, I worked with a child whose, fixation was on Lego, the Lego blocks, and he builds it over and over, and he would dismantle it and build it over and over and over again and dismantles it. I've had some who's the puzzles. Presently, I'm working with a student now who loves the magnetic alphabet, and from what his mom told me, I actually dedicate this video to him. His mom says he loves playing with his numbers. That even anytime they go out to the toy store, the same thing he buys, the same thing all over and over again. And he loves, guess what? He loves talking to Alexa. Alexa maybe will say the sister or the brother to Siri, and he's always like, he tells, if he needs any reminder, he goes back to Alexa for Alexa to put reminders for him, And so this mom says that, Siri was able to sort of like encourage Gus to keep having conversations, to keep talking, to build out his imagination. And she realized that Siri became like a friend or a go-to for Gus. And while we're talking about Siri, who is an inanimate, voice over, or maybe artificial intelligence over a device, that brings me to say that, we might know a child on the spectrum. We might see them fixated on certain things, but let's not get bored with whatever passion they have. Let's try to, encourage them, build conversations. You could start a conversation over something and then they change and they deviate and go to something they want to talk about. Again, you can draw their conversation to something or to a topic you're all talking about, even if for just 5 minutes they stay focused on what that conversation is all about. They might move on to something else, but that doesn't stop you from talking. And sometimes you might think, oh, they might just throw a blind eye or they might just pull their face away from when they're talking to you. But then that should not discourage us from saying, hey, how can I build on my conversation? Because sometimes I ask my student, how are you? And they go start talking about something else. That doesn't stop me from saying, hey, again, asking, how are you? How was your day? What did you do today? What are you going to do for the holiday? Those are certain questions. I always ask them the who, what, why, when, how questions. And who is that? What are you doing? How was your day? When are you going to go out for a walk? What are you having for breakfast? How are you going to go about doing your homework? So some of those questions sort of like generate conversations in them. They might be very, short responses, but let's avoid allowing them to just say, oh, again, just yes or no. But let's try and strike a conversation, and then we could build a conversation around something they love to do, like if it's music, from what Judith says Gus loved music, and Gus might listen to one music over and over and over and over again, and he never gets bored. And so true. I've had kids who listen to the same music over and over and over again, that sometimes myself, I keep repeating the song, but because, it's all about repetitive learning, and that's the passion they have. So this is one book I'll recommend for some of you, To Siri with Love, A Mother, an Autistic Son, and the Kindness of Machines. That is the passion Siri has brought in, for her son, who noticed that, a 13-year-old autistic son noticed that there was someone who not only find information on his various obsessions, trains, planes, escalators, and anything related to the weather, but would also actually semi-discuss with him tirelessly. Her name was Siri, and she lived in his mother's iPhone. Some of us get tired after a 2-minute discussion, but Siri doesn't get tired. And that's where she found that her son helped build her son's confidence and courage. So next video, I'll be talking about this book, The Boy Who Loved Too Much, a true story of pathological friendliness. The Boy Who Loved Too Much. This is next video, we'll talk about it. And again, if you can read it before we talk about this, that would be so nice. I look forward to catching up with all of you in the new year. So Happy New Year in advance, and see you in 2021. Bye for now.